Who are you?
Whoever you want me to be.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
It's feeling epic.
3 words. 8 letters.
I remember everything.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Previously on Teen TV. I'm Jillian Benani, and today we have a very special guest. I have a big intro for her. She is an actress, singer, songwriter, producer. You know her from Poker Face and the hit film Knives Out. She's also known for being a huge Gilmore Girls fan, and she's my cousin. It's Kerry Frances.
Yay!
Kerry, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. What an intro. Thank you for that. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. One of our, first ever guests. We don't have many guests on, so this is very exciting. And my first ever family member on the podcast, which is very exciting. You beat out my mom, which she will be,
Yes.
now people are going to be lining up.
Aunt Colleen, come on the show, Yes, I know. It's very exciting. I do a ton of podcasts and a lot of interviews, and this is the first time that it's a family member who is on the other side of the microphone. So that's very exciting for me. And I love this podcast. I love what you're doing. So I'm excited to be part of it.
Well, thank you so much. So I'm very excited to talk to you about this today because I feel like I always correlate this with you. And what I mean is Gilmore Girls. Like, is it fair to say that you are the #1 Gilmore Girls fan?
I would say I absolutely am the #1 Gilmore Girls. Yeah, listen, it's a long-term love affair. I definitely have memories of watching it when it was actually on the air. And then I really got into it when I was on tour because I had the DVDs, and that was still when laptops had DVD players in them. And so I would watch the DVDs of Gilmore Girls in the hotel after the show.
Well, when did you know, though, like, this was your show? Like, I feel like everyone kind of, like, like my show was One Tree Hill. I feel like growing up, we all kind of have, like, that show. Like, when did you know this was your show?
First of all, I remember going to watch One Tree Hill film with you when we were in North Carolina. So I'm sure I have some like scandalous pictures of us at very young ages.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm glad that's a core memory for you.
And also it's a core memory because Chad, as we know, was on Gilmore Girls.
I know. It all, those CW people, they're all circling each other.
It is full circle. I think that it really clicked for me when I was living in New York. And it just became what I was missing in my life, which was community. The small town I had grown up in is very, very similar to Stars Hollow. And that kind of small town life for me is golden. It's like I need that in my life. But I think that's when it clicked in New York, when it just became a source of comfort in a very turbulent time in my early 20s of just trying to find my own way.
I feel like that is when these shows come back to us. Like, I feel like I started rewatching like One Tree Hill during the pandemic, and I was like, I couldn't stop. Like, and I hadn't watched it for so long. Threw away those DVDs, didn't really think about it much. And then, when I restarted it, when we weren't doing anything, and I was, bored out of my mind, I was like, this is great. This is, it's, reconnecting with it, a little bit in a way, I think.
Yeah, like an old friend.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted something that felt comforting, that became a pattern, and it really lasted for years. I mean, I would watch, my roommates used to joke when I lived in New York City that they knew I was home if they heard the theme song, because I would just loop it over and over. We didn't have cable, streamers were still sort of new-ish. And so we would just play the Gilmore Girls DVDs.
I know. I feel like you are kind of the one person that I know has been a fan of this show while it was airing on TV. like, I think I found out about Gilmore Girls, I feel like, from you, because you were always like talking about it.
An honor.
You had the DVDs. Like, you really got in on this on the ground floor, I feel like.
Yes, I often say I have a PhD in Gilmore Girls because it's just, I wouldn't even be able to tell you how many times I've seen the show straight through, or how many times I've seen certain episodes or certain seasons. And, you know, it's a bit of a fine line, right? Because I think it's one thing to be excited by shows or movies or just really love a certain genre. Like, I, like you, really love any type of teen drama, or, you know, whether that's current or in the past, like 90s, early 2000s. Now I'm like in the exact same career as the shows and the movies that I love so much, or that, you know, I watch over and over. And so I think I also kind of really pulled back. Like, I would say most people don't know about my Gilmore Girls shop or the TikTok or anything that really has to do with this specific podcast that we're doing.
Right.
You know, the people that are watching all of my Instagram stories are producers and showrunners and directors and other talent. And so I don't usually like to lead with, also, I'm a super fan of this TV show that happened a long time ago, and I've turned it into a small business for myself. And, you know, I live next door to the set. So,
oh my God, that's so true.
That wouldn't necessarily always land. Yeah. So there's a fine line. But when people find out about the show, the response is almost always the same, which is like, I love it too. Or, oh my gosh, I have to watch that. Or, oh, right, she did the Maisel show, right? They kind of tie it back to Amy Sherman Palladino. I was in a meeting the other day, and my writing was compared to Aaron Sorkin.
Oh my God.
Who writes The West.
Yeah, I'm familiar. That's very cool.
I've been living on that. Yes, that's been an amazing compliment.
Oh my God.
But I almost always say, yeah, totally. Thank you for the compliment. Also, I think my writing is Amy Sherman Palladino-esque, right? It's just as quickly.
Fast talking.
Exactly. It's the exact same thing as Aaron Sorkin, but for some reason we don't talk about her as much. So I'm hoping that in a way I can kind of blend my love for the show with what I do full time and bring more light onto the women that have been creating so many incredible things, and being a woman creating incredible things, to not just constantly compare us to men who have come before us.
I feel like too with Gilmore Girls, like, it is kind of one of the older teen shows. Like, it came out like early on in like the WB's like history of like coming out with teen shows. But I feel like going back to a little bit about what you said before of like that this is like a women-led show, and like Lorelai Gilmore, I feel like she was like ahead of her time a little bit. Like, she's in her 30s. She doesn't have it all figured out. Like, do you think that maybe like that's something that's kind of like resonating now with people, and why like we're all still so obsessed with it? Like, I feel like her character is almost like more relevant now than it was even like back then.
Yeah, 1000% agree. I think that the show and the characters were very ahead of their time, especially for that point, right? When we were seeing women in TV shows, if we think about the 90s or early 2000s, I think about like The Nanny, right? Which was all very focused on finding a husband, being too old to get married, and how much they weighed. Those were like the key premises for the female characters, and the jokes would repeat. Or something like Everybody Loves Raymond, where, you know, there was a lot of focus on the wife character going back to work or not, things that now feel so outdated, which really was not that long ago. And then here comes Gilmore Girls, right? And it's an independent, hyper independent woman who not only is raising a teenager, but is such a prominent figure in her community, in her town, and she becomes an entrepreneur, and she says what she thinks. And it's actually not about, as much as there are love stories and romance and couples throughout the seasons, it's actually not about that. The real love story in Gilmore Girls is mother-daughter and, you know, female friendships, best friends between Suki and Lorelai and Rory and Lane. Those are the real, like, soulmate connections on the show. And so I think it offered something that no one else had at that point. It just became the little engine that could, you know, which is why like its numbers were so bad the first couple of, definitely the first season, but as it grew and as it's been rediscovered, especially by Gen Z, because they were like, no, we are not putting men first, and we don't care about that. And, you know, we want to see strong female-led shows.
I do feel like when people get kind of like so wrapped up in the like, I'm Team Jess, I'm Team Dean, I'm Team Logan. I'm like, that's not really like, I mean, it is fun, obviously, I think, to like talk about those things and kind of have your team or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, too, it's hard to like necessarily like fixate on that because that just wasn't necessarily the point of the show. That's why it's like there isn't one that we can all really pick because that wasn't the point.
Yeah, definitely. It was more about the family dynamics and the codependent relationships and the enmeshed family culture and how to maintain relationships that are not your romantic relationship without losing your identity completely or becoming wrapped up in, you know, dynamics and family patterns that you actually don't want to participate in, but everyone else in your family participates in. So those just offer so many more interesting storylines than will they, won't they, or, oh my gosh, they went on a date, which I think just shows the intelligence of the Gilmore Girls audience as a whole.
I'll just say Lorelai Gilmore, I want more of her on my TV today. Like I want, right? You're like, I'm working on something.
I am. Yeah, I am. I am trying very hard. Here's the exciting thing about my life. Really, in the past year and a half, I've gone from just acting and singing to now also producing, writing, and even directing. And that's opened up a whole new world. And so we're constantly pitching different things. And I must bring up at least once a month, bless my manager, because she's always like, Kerry, like, you know, we're going to get to it or we can talk about it. But the idea I have, which is a prequel pitch. So I've got a whole prequel developed.
Oh my God.
Right, exactly.
What?
I know, and I'm obsessed with it. Yeah. So it really would focus more on Emily and the young Lorelai before Lorelai got pregnant, and really like the dynamic between Emily and Richard and how did they get to where they are. And then it would pick up, obviously, from there in the original show.
Okay, I had no idea you were working on this. I'm like jaw dropped. This is amazing. Like,
and everyone listening, like, don't take my idea. You know,
right? So yeah, I know. No, I'm just like, I'm jaw dropped because this is exactly what I want, though. Like, I feel like as I was like watching the show and rewatching, I'm always like, I want to know more. Like, there is so much more to this story to tell. And I love when they would do the flashbacks, like when we saw like Lorelai have Rory. And I just feel like there is so much there. And that's like exactly what I want to see. And like, I mean, I'm just obsessed with Lorelai, and I'm fascinated by her character. I want more.
Right, like seeing her development.
Like, I want her as a teen. Like, that is so, like, amazing. I love it.
I know. We just need Amy to be on board is the thing. And, you know, if I were Amy Sherman-Palladino and I was such an incredible powerhouse creator and I had made this show out of nothing, and then anyone else that ever had to be involved with it, I also would be like, nope, like this is my child, this is my baby, you know, really making sure the writing team and the producing team are absolute top notch. You know, I can't imagine they would necessarily be open to additional pitches in the Gilmore Girls universe. I even think about a show when Lorelai just moved to Stars Hollow. That's like
I know.
That would be, you know, Rory would be 8, so it'd be like 8 to 16, which is such a fun developmental age anyway. Lorelai would be like 26, 24. So that's a really fun developmental age as well. And we would see her get to meet Suki, and we would see her get to get the job at the inn, and we would see her get to meet Luke and all of the characters and just how the town itself shapes. So yeah, I'm all in with you. I think there's got to be more, and hopefully it won't be like what we got in the sequel.
I know. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on that. Well, first I want to ask you, did you like try and get into A Year in the Life? Like, you should have been like in the background. Like, were you making calls? No. Like, I need to know.
No, I think at that point I was really just getting into TV and film, like out of theater and more into TV and film at that point. I remember reading about it and thinking, if I'm not in this is nuts. But, you know, everything was developed out here and cast out here. And I was still in New York at that point doing a play off Broadway. So, and what's really neat about that is if you read Lauren Graham's most recent book, she talks a lot about how she really brought in a lot of her friends and the people that she had always wanted to get cast on Gilmore Girls that weren't, there's never really a part for them there. Like her best friend, Sam Pancake, was someone that she pitched over and over and over, and he never got a role. So he got to come and do something really fun in A Year in the Life, and obviously like Sutton and Christian and those types of more names. So, but I 1000% assume that I will be in whatever's next. I could play like a relative, a Gilmore relative. I think I've got the look.
Oh yeah, you totally could. So. The fourth Gilmore girl.
Exactly.
The long lost Gilmore girl. But that is very exciting. And I'm so happy that you're like working on some stuff like in this universe. Everything sounds really great. And I just hope they like continue these stories, because I don't really want it to end on A Year in the Life. Like, it wasn't, it wasn't what we wanted it to be. It wasn't the same.
No, it was not. It was definitely, I think from the production side, knowing that it went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and like no one even told them. I remember reading that Lauren found out about it because she read a press release. Like she didn't actually know. She wasn't 100% sure. It was a lot of like emails about clearing availability and then hearing nothing. And she was filming a movie in Atlanta like the week before they started filming here in LA. And I think it was just a very, hey, we can get the lot at this exact time in 1 week. And for some reason, production schedules line up and, things are booked out at Warner Brothers 5 to 10 years in advance, right? So
oh my God.
I think it must have been a cancellation, or it must have just been something they were going back and forth, finally got a deal in place. So I like to think it had to do with the timing and not so much the storytellers or the actors. I also think they could not have anticipated the level of excitement and enthusiasm from the audience. So now I would imagine if they go back in, they would be taking into account like, okay, these people are obsessed and we better do this, really do it justice, not just like, can we get this together? Will the actors be available, in less of a quick pace?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That timing probably did have a lot to do with that. And it was like a huge production. And to throw that together like so quickly, it's tough. And it's just kind of like how it goes sometimes. But I mean, now I just feel like it's even bigger than it was when A Year in the Life came out.
It's so much bigger.
So it'd be interesting to see what they would do next. I mean, I just feel like you have to.
Yeah. And it's easy to think like, oh, right, that just came out. But really, it's actually almost 10 years ago. I mean, it's like 8 years ago that it came out already. I know, which is nuts.
Wait, what?
I know. So, because it came out in 2016 and
you're right.
It's 2024. So this fall will be 8 years, right, since it came out. So my best guess is it would probably be around that 10-year mark. We would see something come back. And the fan base and the excitement has only grown so much in those 8 years. And also, like, if it was 10 years around there, it would also be just about 25 years since the original came. Like, I can see this coming together for them from a marketing perspective as well. Like, it just makes a lot of sense. It would be like
you're already thinking like a producer. Like you already got it.
How my brain works. Yeah.
You're already thinking it. The timeline is there. I love it.
How do we do the social media?
Get this girl on the next Gilmore Girls. Yeah.
I know.
So you're in the biz, as we've talked about. And you have met some of the actors from the show. Like, tell us a little bit. Who have you met? What's the tea? Give us all the dirt.
Yes, I have met or worked with or been at auditions with a lot of these people. I also casually pitch them sort of constantly. Like I remember when we were talking about Knives Out, I remember being on the phone with my friend Ryan, who wrote and directed that movie. And I was just like throwing out ideas, like who did I think these characters were? And at one point he interrupted me and he's like, do you realize you just pitched me 4 Gilmore Girls actors in a row? And I was like, no, I didn't. And he like rattled them back to me. And I was like, yes, I did. Like, I did not even notice I was pitching certain people for, like I pitched Matt for Chris Evans' role. I pitched Lorelai for Toni Collette's role. Like,
I love it.
I was just like rambling through.
They should know that you're supporting them. You're throwing their name out there. What I want is a Knives Out Gilmore Girls version. Like, give me Gilmore Girls Knives Out.
A murder mystery.
In Stars Hollow.
Yes.
That's what I want. Murder mystery Gilmore Girls.
Murder mystery in Stars Hollow where Benoit Blanc comes to save the day and also does like a tap routine or there's some sort of like musical element.
I think that's
I don't see anything wrong with that. Yeah. I think that's,
tell Ryan.
that is the intersection of my world. So that would be like, I would lose I think I would probably pass out on that set. Like when that came to be. And I do think a murder mystery episode would be really cute for Gilmore Girls. It'd just be like a fun to see the town dress up, and Miss Patty would like MC the whole thing, and
and they didn't do one, right? Like, I'm like, am I forgetting? They never did. It seems so crazy.
Yeah.
So
Golden Girls did, but Gilmore Girls did not. So
I digress there, but tell us who you've worked with.
Listen, and we can segue because in Knives Out, who I worked with was a Gilmore Girls actress named Ricky Lindholm. So Ricky played one of the college girl friends of Logan. So one of like the rich college girls. And she was in many episodes in 5, 6, and 7, season 5, 6, and 7. She's blonde.
Right.
Again, unfortunately, at that time, it would be a lot of like, I'm not eating at the bar. Rory, how do you eat? Those types of unfortunate stories. So she was great and she was wonderful to work with. And I don't think I said one word about Gilmore Girls. Maybe at one point I did, but that was when I was still very shy and like nervous about being on set. So for sure, Ricky. And then Lauren, I met at a book signing. So I only met her one time so far.
Wait, I was there with you at that book signing.
You were?
We were together, yes.
In New York?
Because I was like in the city interning, yes, for her first book, right?
Was my sister there as well?
Yes, we were all there.
Oh
I met you guys later because I was like going for my internship, and I like stood in line with like, I met this girl. We like chatted the whole time. So we like,
and then you caught
we weren't
up with
really
us.
In line together. Yeah. But like we all were there.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about that. That is so wild. Yeah, you were there.
I know.
That was the only time so far that I've met Lauren, but I really enjoyed the experience of like her doing a live show. I think she just is an excellent stage presence. So that was a really fun night. Alexis, I met when she did a play at Manhattan Theater Center. And one of my friends at the time worked for MTC. And so she had me come to all of the previews and like opening night parties for everything at MTC. And so I went to that, and I remember she was like, can you help me just like hand out drinks or like get people's drink orders or whatever? And so, I'm just like bopping around, and I turned around and I'm just talking to someone without really like looking at their face. I was writing something down, and I looked up and it was Alexis, and she was asking me like if I could get her a certain drink or a something, I don't know what it was. And it was such a classic. I remember she was in Uggs and a jean skirt. And I was like, Rory Gilmore lives. Like,
yeah, that is so true.
That is exactly what I would picture her in. And she still at that point looked the exact same. I mean, that must have been like 2011, 2012, like a long time ago. Yeah. So,
I mean, did your brain just like, was it like exploding? Were you so excited?
I think yes and no. I feel like I've always just forever and ever, even when I was little, like I never played teacher. I never played like pretend like that. I would practice red carpet interviews, like as a little kid playing pretend. I would practice like what celebrities did I want to see? Like we're talking like 7, 8, 9 years old, like very young, just knowing this is where I would be. So I've never really had strong reactions to anyone famous or anyone that I really love. But I just remember she was really nice. So that was fun. I did have a strong reaction for Matt Zuckery because, my goodness gracious, what a beautiful man. I mean, he is just a dreamboat. And I remember I was in an audition at a really popular, I want to say it was a commercial casting agency that I think it was called Endeavor. And I don't think they have the same office, but I remember it had like a big disco ball in the center, and it was right in Chelsea, and just like running from audition to audition that day. And then Matt walked in directly behind me and sat right, like if I was next to this actor, he was catty corner to us, like a foot away. And he was like running lines, drilling lines. And he was so beautiful, like almost like achingly beautiful, And I just remember staring at him. Like I could not keep it together for that particular experience. I remember I went and I did my audition, and then I got in the elevator and he got on the stairs at the same time. And so we actually like got into the, like think of like a tiny casting New York lobby coming, like he came out of the stairs and I came out of the elevator at the same time. It was like a meet cute moment without the full blown romance.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, he wrote a book of poetry and I had read it because obviously as a Gilmore fan, and I had literally just read it like the week before, which was the most random timing. And in the book, I don't know why or how, but his birthday was in it, and we have the same birthday. And I remember being like, I should tell him we have the same birthday, and I like his poems.
I love it.
My only thought. And instead, I just crossed the street, and I was like, I can't do it. Like, I can't. Again, it was a very different time. Now, I would have been like, oh my God, let's talk about all of our friends we have in common, and a million other questions. Chad, obviously. Chad, I know because I released a holiday single a couple years ago, and part of my press was going to something called Christmas Con. And so...
which sounds amazing, by the way. I'm like, I want to go to one. I want to go to one so bad.
You should come with me next time.
Yeah.
Christmas Con also, they sent me to the same people... So basically, I thought I was there just doing press, and they were like, cool, we're also going to have you interview our talent. And they like threw me in the deep zone without telling me. And so I wound up interviewing like our favorite Hallmark 90s stars, which was really exciting, including Sweet Chad. And so Chad, I saw a couple years in a row at Christmas Con, and he's lovely, and he would always have his family with him and very personable.
That is good to hear.
But he has always been very, very lovely, not only with fans around him, but like think about me just hanging out in that green room, just bopping up to people, right? And I remember when he was leaving, and he couldn't go this year, so the previous Christmas, he was leaving the green room and like heading back to the hotel, and he came over and just gave me a really big hug. He was so sweet to me, and I'm like, you don't even know my name. Like you're just a nice human being who, knew you talked to me earlier, and I'm in the green room. I must be important, right? So you're going to come give me a big bear hug, which is, I did enjoy that. That was a nice moment for me, for my memory.
I know. No, that is like so good to hear though about him. Also, just good to know that the guy whose poster I had on my wall in middle school is nice. Like,
that's right.
It's just good to hear.
And then obviously Sally Struthers, who I did my very first job with. So Sally played Babette. And that job, I was so young doing that job that they had either just wrapped season 7 or they were just gearing up to shoot season 7. But I remember her telling me like big T. Like I remember her telling me something to the effect of the showrunner wasn't coming back, or that some big change had happened, or that they didn't know that the show was going to end. So it was either right after it ended, or I just have this memory of her telling me like piping hot tea about how nobody knew this was going to happen, whether that was a big staff change or the show ending. And that everyone like left and has been in like shock ever since. So I want to say it was maybe after the last season had been filmed and they found out they weren't coming back. But yeah, I was definitely young enough where there was no holds bar. And I just told her like, I'm a huge Gilmore Girls fan. I love it so much. I mean, it was literally on the air. So like, imagine being in your first job ever and your favorite TV show, an actress from your favorite TV show is playing opposite you. Like I was like an actual role. So
I know. Like, yeah, I remember this. Like, moment.
You do?
Yeah. No, yeah. Like, because I just feel like I remember, like, I think, like, after you wrapped that job, maybe we went on, like, a family vacation or something. But I
did. I flew down to your parents' house from that job.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
And I just remember, like, being like, oh, my God, she got to work with someone from Gilmore Girls? Like, that's, like, the dream. Like, I was just so happy for you.
Yes. Oh, my God.
So I feel like that has always just, like, stuck in my head, definitely. I feel like I remember you saying that it was, like, that they weren't coming back or something like that.
That makes sense.
Like, at that time. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy you got that tea. Like, I mean, that's just, like, that's, like, life, like, that's, like, I'm sure you were like, this is it. Like, I'm killing it. Like,
I remember thinking that I had, like, made it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, my name was in a Playbill article, and I do remember thinking, like, oh, my God, it can't get any better. I was obviously extremely wrong, but it's definitely a great first job to have in this business. Yeah, I mean, It's a lot of people I've met or have. I saw Kirk at Strikes last year when we were on strike. I would see him.
Oh yeah, well he gave that big speech.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was that location that I saw him. And like smaller bit parts. I remember running into Richard Topol, who played couple of different characters in the first season, including like there was an episode where he was playing a waiter and Suki had gotten a bad review and she, wanted this waiter to like tell her about a mystery diner. And it became this whole like funny bit and he played that role. And I remember I had seen him in a Broadway show the night before and he's actually talking to me about my dog. And then I was telling him, I just saw you in this yesterday, but you're like one of my favorite actors from the small parts on Gilmore Girls. And he was like, how do you even know that? Like why would you think about like this person with a huge resume and they're being stopped on the street. And I'm like, you played the waiter in season 1 episode, I like knew exactly what he had been in and that he had played multiple characters. So that was a really fun interaction too. Thinking now as an actor, when people remember me from things or have really nice things to say about smaller roles I've done, that's so cool. Like what a cool gift to give someone.
Oh, definitely. I like too that like you kind of started off by telling us, oh, no, I didn't mention Gilmore Girls. And then in this one, you were like, I ran right up to him and said, I know you were in season 2 episode, blah, blah, blah. Like, I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, too, it's just good to know that, all these interactions with, the cast of Gilmore Girls who all were on a big show. I mean, some on it more than others, but just that they were all good interactions.
Yeah.
And positive and had a positive impact on you.
Yeah, for sure.
What I also want to hear about it, and thank you for, spilling that tea, giving us all the scoop. I love to hear some, behind the scenes, actors, all that. Talking about the show again, when you rewatch, so let's say you're rewatching, do you watch every episode or do you have favorites that you pick? What is your strategy with rewatching Gilmore Girls?
Great question. So typically I do start at the pilot and I will watch season 1, 2, and into 3, maybe all of 3 straight through. I tend to find I have a switch somewhere in 4 where maybe I'm committed and I watch straight through and I get to the end of the season or the end of the show as a whole. But once we get into 4, definitely parts of 5, big time 6 and 7, I will either skip episodes or I'll miss the first 3 seasons enough to go start them again. I think for me, one of my favorite characters in Gilmore Girls is Stars Hollow. So when we started to really pull away from the town and the townspeople and that environment, it usually doesn't give me what I'm probably seeking subconsciously. The comfort that I'm probably looking for in that time is that small town vibe and the younger episodes where Rory is still at Chilton. But occasionally I'll suddenly feel like I really want to see the later episodes because they still feel less familiar to me. I probably could do word for word, every episode of the first 3 seasons, maybe 4 seasons. But once we get into the later seasons, there's still some, oh, right, I forgot that. Or, that episode. Yesterday, I actually was on the Warner Brothers lot and I saw a new part that I hadn't seen before. And someone was saying that was where Gilmore Girls had filmed some scenes in Boston. And I was like, what? Is that Sherry Tinsdale's baby shower? And or was that Christopher's apartment? Where would we have seen this exterior? So I went and I put on the baby shower episode to see if that was, I think that's what they were talking about. The building definitely looked the same, but I'm going to have to check out one of the Christopher apartment exterior shots and see if that was the same. And I watched, I saw a theater that they have at Warner Brothers and I recognized that was the Broadway theater that Lorelai went to see a show with in one episode. She went to see a show with Suki and Jackson and a guy she was dating. So something like that will come up, or if I have anything in relevance, a meeting or a conversation or anything in relevance where I should know something that would be relate to 5, 6, or 7, I'll pull up an episode. But yeah, once we got April involved.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm always a fan more of the high school years too. I just think in these shows, I think too, especially with Gilmore Girls, there is something just about those earlier seasons. They're not as drama filled as the later ones. But the earlier ones just still keep you watching, but there's something like so sweet about them. And so like, just like comforting. And I think it's like the town and like Rory just being like so innocent in high school and like experiencing like a first kiss and a first dance and all those like fun things that we love to rewatch. And then the later years, it's like a lot more drama is happening, but it's just, I feel like people don't go back to rewatch those as much.
No, I agree. And I would actually venture to say the pilot and the first 1 to 3 seasons of every show are always going to be the most popular across the board for anything. Whenever there's a really big change, I think that it becomes less popular because psychologically humans reject change, and we're all dealing with so much constant change in our own lives. You know, having the consistency of a show is really important. So I would say without a doubt. I also think that a lot of people don't listen. I could state my case in defense of Rory Gilmore because I think a lot of people.
Me too. I'm very passionate about this. Yes, please go on. Go on.
Listen, I think a lot of why the first 3 seasons are more popular is because people decided Rory became like insufferable. That is not the case at all. And I stand by this. Rory was raised in a codependent, enmeshed mother-daughter relationship where there was no boundaries, and she was parentified from a very young age and basically taking care of her mother, which messes up your brain. Like, not only that, but then she's in a small town where she is constantly being praised, constantly being told she can't do anything wrong. She was not emotionally, mentally, or literally prepared for the world at all. And if she were a real person in a real relationship in a real life, without a doubt, like the one thing that I think they did right in the revival, without a doubt, she would have moved home in her early 30s and felt like a big failure and had no ducks in a row and no stability because, again, no one taught her how to do this. Even beyond that, we could say, okay, Emily and Richard tried. Like they really tried to give stability and money and opportunities, but they were actually just enabling those unhealthy patterns and relationships to continue. You know, I mean, if we look at her inability to be like in a romantic relationship, we look at her inability to say, I love you. That's not because she was insufferable. It's because she was raised in a certain way where all of these patterns and all these experiences taught her she really wasn't safe in the world. She was only safe within the confines of her mother's house and her small town. And so obviously that's where she ends up returning to.
I mean, preach it out. Yes, I 100% agree with you. I'm also just don't understand why people won't let Rory make some mistakes. I mean, I feel like if somebody is trying to be so perfect in high school, you know, being raised with a single mom and that codependent relationship, like, there's going to be things that you need to go through. And she clearly was like really trying to be perfect, keep things perfect. That's just not going to last. Like you need to make some mistakes in life and learn from them. I just find it so interesting of how people like really find her so insufferable. Like she made some mistakes. She didn't like burn down the town. Like it could have been way worse in my opinion.
It could have been way worse.
Yes. And like, especially like, I know people like find the thing with Dean like so horrible. Like Dean is to blame too in that situation and more to blame.
Oh, major.
I mean, I can't with that. And I found the episodes where she moved in with Emily and Richard, again, to be fascinating. Because it was like bringing it back to that history and bringing it back to like why Lorelai moved out and what that, you know, relationship was like when she was living in their house before she had Rory. Like, I thought that was all so interesting. And also like what it's like to have extremely rich grandparents, like at a young age, who can take care of everything for you. I just thought it was interesting that the show did explore that. I think if she was perfect throughout the entire series, like that would have gotten really old and boring and not made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. And I definitely agree about the Dean issue. I think Dean was really messed up in a lot of ways himself. But again, it reflects real relationships. Your relationships you have as a teenager and a young adult are typically quite messed up for good reason, so that you can learn how to behave and how to make choices and how to treat people, and that there's consequences and all the things that our developing brains, require in real life. So I think the showrunners and the producers and the writers and everyone that was on the creative side did an excellent job with the development of her character, and that's really where she would have ended up, both at the end of the series and in the revival. That's like makes total sense to me. So yeah, I don't think she was insufferable at all. I mean, if anything, Lorelai was big into no boundaries, definitely relying on her actual literal child to be her support team, to talk everything out. And then there's an episode at one point where she's like, I don't know the exact episode, but she's really upset. She's broken up with Luke and she is in her bed and she is like unable to get out of bed. And Rory has to come home from college. She has to figure out how to get there. Her car's in the shop. She has to go to the grocery store. She rearranges the furniture so the TV can go upstairs. She calls upon other people in the town, both Suki and Lane, and I think some other people, to come help her mom get through, and then doesn't go back to school where she actually needs to be for a couple of days to put her mom's mental health and needs before hers. So it could definitely be argued just as easily that Lorelai actually was the problem in this situation, or they're all of equal problems. I say out of everyone, you know who had it together? Miss Emily Gilmore. Emily Gilmore.
I know.
I will go to bat for her. If you really think about it from her side, she had one child. She wanted to spoil that child. She wanted the best education, the best opportunities. She understood how systems in our world work. She wanted to set that child up for success. And then when everything derailed, she still was there for that child and the grandchild and let them live there and gave them financial support. And there was a staff there to take care of them, and then gets abandoned out of nowhere by her actual child and loses her grandchild. No contact, doesn't know where they are. I mean, she must have been on the verge of needing to be constantly sedated or hospitalized or mentally. Can you imagine if your child was just gone overnight and your brand new grandbaby and they have nowhere to live and no income? And then she still kept it together and became this really affluent, important member of her community, supported her husband, held the house down, then let Lorelai and Rory back into their lives. I get so heated about this because
I love it.
In a real family, look, family's complicated, and we are related, so we can't talk about our actual family, but family is complicated and people are messy. And I think overall, Emily, and definitely Emily and Richard as a whole, were really good people who just wanted the best for the people that they love. And Lorelai and Rory were hot messes who, really took from a lot of people without. Think about all the times Suki would have to be there for Lorelai. How many times was Lorelai there for Suki?
I know.
So we just see the patterns repeat over and over.
I am loving these takes. I mean, it's so good. I think too with Emily, what I like about her character is she knows who she is. And she just doesn't apologize for that. And she shouldn't have to. She's just I am who I am. And I love that about her. Wow. I feel now I'm Emily Gilmore might be my favorite after your dissertation on Emily Gilmore.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If I had to defend this thesis to get my PhD, it would be no adjustments, fully on board. We give you the PhD. I really can definitely go to bat for these characters.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, okay. I did want to ask you too, because we talked a little bit about Rory and where she ended up. So what do you think about the ending in A Year in the Life? Who do you think the baby daddy is?
I think without doubt it's Logan. And I think that then we would see Jess essentially become Luke and be there for her and help raise the baby. And they would, have that on again, off again, will they, won't they relationship. And I think Logan would become effectively Christopher, and we would see him pop in and out and have big commitment issues. And I would imagine they probably would maintain an ongoing affair, whether that was emotionally or literally, And we'd really have to see which way they took the show, if they ended up having Logan and Rory end up together, or if they had, Jess and Rory end up together, which I'm guessing would be the case. Yeah, but I would say it's definitely Logan's baby.
Yeah, I feel like it just has to be. Like, that's the whole point of it. But I would love to, like, watch it all over again.
I know.
With those characters.
I know, definitely.
This has been so fun picking your brain about all things Gilmore Girls. I want to talk a little bit about your TikTok and your TikTok shop. You have all kinds of merch. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes. Yeah. So I've had, different Gilmore Girls ideas, shops, merches since the Year in Life came out. And I never really had the time or the ability to totally dedicate to it. And so I started a TikTok for it randomly. And sometime last summer, I went to the Warner Brothers studio tour and I made a video of me in the shop, which has a ton of Gilmore Girls things in it. And that went viral. And overnight, I had like thousands of followers. And then I started telling some of these stories about working with Gilmore Girls people or meeting them or how I've got personal relationships. And then that took off. And then I would make, more videos of a lot of the same shopping footage and just being on the set and showing, Stars Hollow as it looks right now. And it just kept building. So right now we have a lot of very enthusiastic Gilmore Girls fans. It's a really fun community. It's basically what we've been doing in this podcast, but in the comments and people asking me all sorts of questions. Like if you brought up the baby daddy, you would not believe the passion with which people will, or even again, the Dean stuff, the Rory stuff, and they've all got opinions, which is great. And they should have them. And it just provides for some really fun, both comments and we'll go live all the time. And it's a lot of, again, videos from the set. So because I live next door to Warner Brothers, I am there often and I, can make videos literally in Stars Hollow to show what it looks like right now, what other sets are using it right now. And just explaining even how to go visit. I do a lot of videos about teaching people how to visit Warner Brothers and what that entails, which is really helpful because if you're traveling from out of state, you've never been here, it's overwhelming to go do this Warner Brothers tour. So it's really, really fun. And I do get a lot of messages from people that they're glad I have the account, that it brings them a lot of joy, that they love Gilmore Girls so much. And, they're grateful that I'll get messages from people. They just did a family vacation and they watched my videos. So they knew how to do the tour, or they knew how to, where to stay, or even that Universal is not Warner Brothers and kind of very basic facts. So we have that and I'm having a great time. And that is the Stars Hollow shop on TikTok. We also have an Instagram, but I don't use it nearly as much. So it's not as active. And then I have the Stars Hollow shop on Etsy, which is Gilmore Girls bingo, Gilmore Girls coloring. So we have like winter coloring, fall, general Gilmore Girls one. I have the Gilmore Girls planner pages, which is like, if you want to use it as an actual planner.
Oh, I love that. It
has like Suki's recipes and just some really fun Gilmore Girls stuff. And then I also wrote a book. I wrote a goal guide. So,
what? I didn't know that.
Like an ebook. So it's called the Gilmore Girls Goal Guide. And it is basically how to get moving on your goals, the goals and dreams you have in your life, and making your life look how you want it to look with Gilmore twists. So, one activity is really being intentional about how you spend your time. And so I make a mock version of the activity in Lorelai's day, like how I think Lorelai spends her 24 hours. And then you use that as an example to create yours. And, I talk a lot about the girls, like their goals, what they wanted in life, how they set out to achieve them, and how you can apply those principles and tips and tricks to actually achieve your goals.
I love that. You really have it all, I feel like. I love all this.
I know. And I have a merch shop. I have like a clothing now merch shop, which is new.
Oh my God.
And it's on Printify. So it's like the designs that I don't see anywhere. I made one that was popular at Christmas time that was Happy Hollow, HOLLOW days. And it had different, cute.
So good.
Making them
so
trendy,
good.
like what people want to actually buy. So those are and everything is the Stars Hollow shop across the board.
Well, we'll definitely be checking it out. We love merch. I just feel like that is like, I don't know what it is. Like, I just cannot stop like buying merch, honestly.
I know. It's the same.
It's just so fun, you know? I also love that you are living by the Warner Brothers lot, like by Stars Hollow. Like, how often are you there?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And I know it'll just be more and more with work, but I walk along Warner Brothers every single day, you know, try and do those 10,000 steps when you're not living in New York. It's like, oh my gosh,
that's true.
You really have to be intentional. So I do like an hour and a half walk in the Warner Brothers vicinity every day. And it's also just neat to see, like I saw the girl from Abbott Elementary leaving yesterday.
Quinta Brunson?
No, oh my God, please, I live for her. She played Jessie in Parent Trap. She plays Melissa.
Oh, yeah. Lisa Ann Walter.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. I saw her leave. Like I just saw Josh Gad with like a whole team of people around him. He was leaving meetings. And so I also just enjoy that. It's a really fun thing to have every day. But I can see, like, if you watch Gilmore Girls and you see the mountains in the background that are supposed to look like Connecticut, like what I guess we're supposed to think are trees are actually mountains. Those mountains I can see from my apartment. So almost every day I'm like, that's Stars Hollow. Like, I can see what I saw it's almost as though I was manifesting it all along, right?
I think you were.
I know. I was watching it over and over. I was taking on the energy of female-led projects and really intelligent projects. And not only as an actress, but as a creator, right? So the eventual goal is to also have a show created by me. And seeing Stars Hollow, seeing Warner Brothers effectively every day. And now I'm living that dream, looking at Warner Brothers, seeing the mountains in the distance. Like it's just a wild experience to have come from watching all those years and now living it out.
You're coming full circle. It's all happening. Mm-hmm. We're manifesting it for you. I have done that Warner Brothers tour before, and I was mad there was like nothing like Gilmore Girls really up, so I have to go back.
When did you do it?
I did it like maybe like 2 years ago or so. Yeah. Like they were kind of like, oh, this is like a street, but like nothing was similar to Gilmore Girls, really. Like you could kind of tell, like, oh yeah, that's the circle, but that was it, really. So I want to go when it's like fully dressed up Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, and they do that every year during the holidays. They turn it back into actual full-blown Stars Hollow. I have gone to that event. I only went once, and obviously it was canceled the year after that. But the year I went, it was probably the most magical experience of my life. And I've had a lot of magical experience. I mean, you're in Stars Hollow. Everything is completely dressed.
I love it.
There's fake snow everywhere. You have like the snowman building competition. The gazebo is all lit up. There's the nutcrackers. The high school's back up, and you know, everything is there except Miss Patty's because they got rid of Miss Patty's and can't seem to rebuild it. And you go into Lorelai's house. Like you can go in the house, and I know it's unbelievably special to do. So you should definitely come, and I will do it with you because any reason to go back is.
I'm coming for the holidays this year.
Oh, you are? Oh. Okay, perfect.
No, I just decided that now.
Okay.
I'm just going to do it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right. And that's the problem. You know, when they announced it last year, my TikTok went crazy and people were like, you have to get the information for us. You have to like clear this up because we don't know when it is. And that was because Warner Brothers didn't know how long they would have it where they weren't filming because the strikes had affected everything. But I just went and asked. Like I literally just went over to Warner Brothers and made a bunch of people tell me the information so that I can put it on TikTok. And who really has the ability from like December 23 to January 1 to take a trip? That's a complicated time for a lot of people. So, but yeah, I would highly recommend it. And it's so cool to see. And even when it's not dressed, I think it's special. You can get out and like go on the gazebo and take pictures and see the buildings as they look. And fun fact, the behind half of Lorelai's house is Suki's house. So that's really fun that you can like, you walk around the corner and it's Suki's house exterior and then you walk back and it's Lorelai. So that's kind of
That always blows my mind. Like that's why I love those like set tours and stuff. But that sounds like so much fun. I'm going to screw the family this year. I'm going to Stars Hollow.
Perfect. Love it.
I love too that you are like the go-to source for what's going on at Warner Brothers Studios with Gilmore Girls. I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on this very special episode. This was so fun. I'm so glad that you did this. And tell all of our listeners where they can find you.
Totally. Thank you again for having me. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Kerry Frances Official. Instagram, look for the blue check mark. Kerry Frances Official. Instagram, Kerry Frances Official. TikTok. And kerryfrances.com is the hub for everything. And, your boys can watch me right now in Poker Face, and they can always rewatch Knives Out because baby loves residuals. So feel free. And stay tuned. It's definitely good to follow me to keep up with what else is on the docket.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of things in the works, a lot of things in the pipeline. So we'll definitely be, staying tuned to what you got going on next.
I love it. Thank you again so much for having me.
And for all of our listeners, you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at previously_on_teen TV. And thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.